This video's made for adult collectors because he's going to crush your bones. I'm so funny. You know when you see like tracksuits and things? Like people wearing tracksuits? I don't usually wear them, but I've seen a lot of people wearing tracksuits and things. He looks like he's wearing a big neon green tracksuit. Now he's on the floor. That is a chunky boy, but like, I kind of like it. All the Constructicons have very similar builds in the show, but these new ones feel like each one had their own identity because of their slightly weird proportions. And so I really like how Bonecrusher looks, especially now that I have him in hand. This is... I forgot the name. This is Bonecrusher from SS86, a chunky and beefy deluxe making the arm of Devastator, and he is wide, but not small. A lot of the renders and photos posted by Hasbro make him look real small, but here he's not, being a tiny bit like a hair taller than Scrapper actually. He is very green, like very green. There is so much neon here, but that's the Constructicons. He does have some nice ass red and purple on the chest. Like that red is super vibrant. Also, I don't know if you saw, but mine has a little bit of shmoo on the leg. That's just how it came, and I got most of it off. Plastic also feels on par with Scavenger, so that's nice. His head is a wee bit small to me. There's so much platform up here and the head feels kind of puny in it. Head sculpt is great though. I love the shaping of the chin and the shadow it casts inside, and the red visor looks clean. His legs are extremely skinny, but he has no issues holding up his bulky body, and they gave him tiny heel spurs so he doesn't fall over. His arms are flat. I'm okay with the proportions of them, but the flat nature of them is a tiny bit off. I think it's specifically the forearms. They feel stubby and, well, flat. That's the only way I could describe them. If they had a bit more shape to them, then I wouldn't have really had an issue. He does have a bit of combiner kibble hanging off the back, but it doesn't cause any balance issues. Now, I don't know how this is going to combine fully, but this black part comes off like it's detached out of the box, and it was such a pain to put on. I hope it doesn't have to come off for the combine mode because I'm gonna be so annoyed. Now, he doesn't have a waist joint. Kinda. So it locks into place by the bucket, but you can untab the bucket and use it as a waist if you want to of sorts. It looks weird. I do wish he had a waist joint, but I get why it's not there because the bucket and the shoulder pad up for the combine mode, putting the hinge here means that the bucket's not going to impact the shoulder at all in combine mode, but it does mean no waist joint. The chest bit on mine also doesn't like to stay tabbed in super well. It tabs in fine enough, but there are some times where it does pop out and it is a little bit annoying. With the lack of waist though, you'd think he wouldn't be able to pose super well, but you can still kind of get him into dynamic looks for a chunky dude. I'm gonna try it out to get him in some decent poses. Two things I wanted to talk about quickly before I get into the articulation is, number one, Quake's the same height as Needle Nose, or around like the same height, and Bonecrusher is the same height as Quake. It's a tiny bit shorter, so like he is technically a taller deluxe. He also is noticeably chunkier. And the other thing, because I forgot to shoot this, I'm gonna shoot it now. Here is the what is this? The Hercules one. That's it. There's the Hercules one. But Bonecrusher here's articulation is not bad. It's not terrible. It could be a little bit better, but you can still do some cool stuff. So the head can rotate. It can do a full 360. There's no tilt. I think it's just literally a swivel, but there is a little hinge here, so you can get some up. Can't really look down unless you move the bucket just a little bit, and then you can look down that far. His little like umbrella hat thing can go up if you want that. The shoulders are on ball joints. They can do a full 360. They can go out that far. You have a ball jointed elbow that allows for a bicep rotation. I know some people are like, oh, why ball joints? I don't care. They still work. I don't care. This doesn't tab in, this part here. It just relies solely on the like friction of this hinge. It does thoop into place given the shape of the hinge, but it doesn't peg in. However, it doesn't come off at all when I'm trying to like move the arms around. And if you really want to try something, if you're like trying to get a photo and you need the arm to look a little bit lower on one end than it is on the other, you can do that. So that's pretty neat. Now there is no waist joint as said before. However, there also is a waist joint. So if you open this up, aha, there you go. You could do that. But because this has to sit here, it kind of blocks the waist joint. You can open this up, rotate this, and then close this up, but that looks weird. Also, just given the shape, it looks like he has like a gut that's just sticking out. So it's a very strange way they did this, but also I don't see how they could have done it any other way because of how this hinge has to sit here. And I'll let like because this is the shoulder joint for combine mode. So yeah, I don't think it would have worked. You have your hip here, which can go forward that far. It can go back that far. The ball joint is also screwed in, which I think is kind of funny, but it can go out that far. You have thigh rotation. The knees untab, but they do bend a tiny bit over 90 degrees. And I like how this is like filled in. That's really cool. And then it clicks back into place. Now, I don't know what this is. I assume this is for combine mode, but this leg has that. I think that's to tab into long haul or something. And then the ankles, they are ratcheted on 2 clicks. You got 1, 2. You got to pivot, but you can sort of cheat it a little bit. So the ratchets don't really matter. But yeah, he is pretty posable minus the waist joint. And I do still wish he had one, but I completely understand why it's not there. Again, just like Scrapper. Scrapper was because the ratchet joint in the torso is like way too strong. This, because of the way that the hinge works, I'm okay with that. Obviously, if they could have fit a waist joint in here, they would have. But they're just, I don't know, safety or drop tests or something. It doesn't work. So yeah, he's a chunky robot with some flaws, but I still like messing with it. The transformation is just so nice to flip back and forth, so let's do that. So if you've ever transformed the Combiner Wars one, just like Scrapper, this borrows from that. But just like Scrapper as well, it improves on that. So the original Combiner Wars one had the worst crotch assembly I've ever seen on any figure because it would consistently come apart. And fun fact, my original Combiner Wars Bonecrusher, I had 2 of them because the first one didn't have a pin in the leg slider, and so the leg would just fall off. So Hasbro sent me an entire other Combiner Wars Devastator. So I ended up with 2. But anyways, this guy's transformation, it's really fun to do back and forth, but there are a couple of weird things. So to start with, we're going to rotate the arms. They are in a double hinge back here, so you're going to fold them up. Now, pegging these in can be a pain in the ass. So you have to make sure it's really lined up, and then you gotta push. And I find pushing with my knuckle helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Oh, why won't it go in? So this is the part where it's like a little bit frustrating. Oh my good lord, it does not want to go in. There we are. Oh man. Talk about sturdy tabs. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, that one's a little easier. And then you want to bring these up, just like that, and leave them there. We're going to fold down the bucket, fold up the head, fold this forward. I'm going to bring this out, and then you want to bring this entire assembly down. It clips in back here. Then you want to bring this section forward. I find moving this out of the way just makes things a lot easier. Because now, when you can bring this all the way back and fold the arms in, and they will tab together, like so. Then this will come up and clip into that spot there, and that holds the whole thing in place. Now you can bring this down, you fold up the feet, and then you rotate this back on both sides, and then they're going to tab into the sides here. Then that tab's going to go into this piece, and now those 2 tabs are going to go into this piece. So you just need to squeeze it all together, and this part can be a little annoying because when you do one side, the other one likes to just come out. There we are. And then you take this double hinge goes down and then up and then in, and there you have Bonecrusher in his alt mode, which is really cool. Now, one thing I also want to mention here real quick is going back into robot mode, because there is a bit that is a little annoying going back into robot mode if you don't know what you're doing. So the instructions are like, oh hey, open this up and then open these sections out, but they're really difficult to do at first and there's not a lot of clearance. And this piece was really, really stiff when I got it out of the box. So you want to make sure this is bent all the way down, then bend this back. It will go back all the way. And that in turn, if you watch right here, this piece, right? Watch that. Bring that down. It pushes it up. And those are what keep it in place. They sort of slide the elbows into where these pin recesses are. And then you can split it apart. But you can't do it unless you've bent this entire thing back, so I recommend doing this to get it there anyways. So that's a chunky bulldozer, and it looks real nice. Yes, it doesn't have wheels, and honestly, I don't care. But it looks like an epic bulldozer with some nice purple on the front end. No more color. like no more, it's just green. He's a really dense brick though. Everything taps together so friggin' well, sometimes too well. The gun can store on the top, and here's the arm mode so far. But as it is, I like this. It looks goofy, but plays well and feels really nice. I definitely recommend one, especially if you're collecting the new Devastator, because like, obviously you need it. But if you just want an interesting construction toy, it's really cool. I'm super looking forward to the rest of the Constructicons. The first two have been very nice. But that's my look at Studio Series 86 Bonecrusher. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.